Uh, my name is Jeanette Byro, and I'm a kinesiologist, and I live in Langley, BC. And I'm also a co-speaker with this guy.
I'm Mark Campbell. I am a pro trainer. I certify personal trainers for the Association of Canadian Fitness Professionals, and I still do some personal training and some nutritional coaching as it's really been my passion, as well as speaking with Jeanette across Canada in fitness and nutrition presentations. I've seen a lot of changes in the industry in regards to fad changes in nutrition and in fitness and science. Even there's been some updates in science that have shown differences than what it was maybe 10 or 20 years ago. What's really cool about that is even though it's science, it's still taking cross sections of test subjects that are of all different standards and races and ages and genders and coming up with averages, and it's still not talking about the individuals. And so there is still quite a bit of room for the science of the individual. And that's why I found to be most interested in the DNA project and the DNA and what it can do for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it really reflects, like you were saying, the individuals, like not only what we eat, but how we think and how we feel, and how all of those things have an effect on the output of our physical beings. Like it's a whole piece. It's the science of epigenetics, and I'm so excited that the scientific community is starting to really recognize that as a tangible study now.
And there's genotype and there's phenotype. How does your body respond to what it has been through? If you've been missing on some of the nutrients that you've had throughout your life, if you've been missing on some of the factors of fitness that your body specifically is hungry for, what is your result going to be in comparison to science, unless it's the science of you, unless it's really understanding what your DNA is about. So that's certainly one of the most exciting parts about understanding the value and availability of what DNA can do for you now.
So when we first got involved with the DNA project several years ago, they were testing about 8 genes at the time, 8 kind of standardized genes. And it's amazing to see the evolution and change and what's happened now, because I believe they're testing over 200 genes now for a more detailed approach to your health and wellness. It's pretty phenomenal.
And it's an non-invasive test, really. It's a swab of a fancy Q-tip on the inside of your cheek to get the epithelials to find out what your DNA is. There's no invasive, no needles, no going to a doctor. So it makes it pretty easy. But what's really cool is how much information is now available in regards to the report. The report now, compared to the report that was available even as few as 8 years ago, the report now is quite comprehensive. But I'll tell you, in our discovery of why it didn't work as well, why it wasn't picked up, why doesn't the whole world have their DNA charts laid out in front of them and understand what they should be doing, I think part of it is the fear of the unknown and the fear of how much of a difficult process it is. But moreover, I think it was really that there was no coaches, there was nobody to instruct you, even though the information said this is what your DNA says about you. It didn't say how to approach the response to that. What do we do? How do we coach that?
Yeah, and so that's why we consider ourselves so lucky to have had the opportunity to work with Matt and Carmen, because I don't know how they know as much as they know. Honestly, I like to think I'm pretty smart, but they are just these amazing resources for information, for scientific backing to what it is they're saying, and also the understanding of how to morph and change things to create a newer, healthier you. Again, based on all the variability and all the different types of genes and how they're showing themselves as well. So, like, these guys are way ahead of their time.
Having the greatest information in front of you doesn't really help if you don't know what to do with it. And having Matt Cleary and Carmen Tochinek helping us as our own personal coaches to help us to understand the DNA. If we are to tell the world a little bit about how amazing DNA is, we needed to understand how it worked for us. And looking at the comprehensive reports, it was amazing to find out how much we could learn about ourselves. But the coaching piece, the ability to deliver and catalyze our results into an upward curve of wellness really came from having the right coaches. And I think really that's why the industry hasn't taken off as fast in regards to the DNA. Personal trainers, I work with personal trainers all the time that are still doing a lot of guesswork, trial and error. And if the industry in regards to fitness is results based, many people are falling out, giving up, maybe even thinking it's their fault because they're not getting a result. The trainers themselves, they start to feel bad about not being able to provide a result. But this is empirical data that when available to the training industry, to the exercise industry, fitness industry, this will be the panacea in regards not just to your physical health, but your emotional health and even mental health is tested in this DNA and can be affected by how you move and what you eat. You really are what you eat. And if you're eating something that is toxic to your body, if you're eating something at a level that doesn't quite ring the bell for your body, and you're following a program that's based on some science that is from some people that were as I would say, a cross section of individuals that may have or may not have a DNA similar to yours, and there is really no DNA similar to yours because you're unique. This is going to be what's going to make the difference. But the biggest difference for us, I think, was getting the right coaches to make sure that we know. And I don't know any coaches. And as you said, from our experience, we're actually pretty smart as a team of educators. And we couldn't have put together those pieces that we learned from our coaches, Carmen and Matt.
It's true. And especially in the refinements of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like in the small tweaks, the small changes of, you read your report and you have a certain understanding, but then it's the practical application to the person in the current state of being. And it's having someone to turn to with the expertise to make those small refinements that make a huge difference.
And it is expertise, but it is also some intuition coming from our coaches and from experience. I mean, years and years and years I've known Carmen, and I've seen her morph as a coach with the information that she has with the clients that she works through, understanding their DNA. The results are amazing. The results show, they show what the client is potential of. And without that information, really, you're still a great trainer, but there's some pieces that might be missing.
And Matt is a problem solver. He can take the most confusing DNA or set of potential issues and help you discover what the actual core thing is. I've had conversations with him where he's like, I'm thinking maybe it's this and this and this, but he's willing to ask me the other questions that, even other trainers or medical professionals won't ask, to then get us to the root of what it could be. And he knows how to take an issue and find the core and then fix it. That's huge.
And you know what I like the most is that it's not aside from the medical system. Matt, for instance, as my advisor, my coach, suggests I do follow up with a doctor to get some information to back up and to support the information that the DNA has, to see where my body is. The DNA says this is where my body could be, and this is the potential my body has. But where am I in that state of being? So it's really nice to have someone recommend this is the time to find that information from your doctor, and then take those results and know what to do with them, when the doctors themselves don't really quite yet know what to do with the DNA information that's available. Mm-hmm. As personal trainers, we really do make up a big part of the healthcare system, because doctors themselves really have their hands tied with their education that they may have done 10 or 20 years ago, and knowing even the curve of science is probably 20 years or more, 25 years more than the general practice that a doctor is able to use. And so having the right coach and having the right information is really imperative. So knowing that personal trainers have their hands tied as well with a lot of the clients coming in with adaptations they've made to an unhealthy lifestyle, maybe some based on fads, maybe some based on what the industry standards say we should be doing. But now having this kind of information will change the industry, will help fill that gap in our medical system, and and being able to deliver it in a functional and and okay.
No, yeah, you got it, in a functional way. And the thing is it's really giving coaches and trainers uh, a roadmap to
Hmm.
follow with their clients, a specific roadmap, a detailed roadmap. So you're not just taking the latest fad diet that maybe you agree with, but it doesn't apply to Joe's body, right? But you're trying to apply it anyways. Like the DNA is really giving you a leg up as a trainer to train in specificity to your client, which is something that's so important as a trainer anyway. But it gives you the ability to offer something that is a tier up, a higher tier of quality. And I think that's really what can help set trainers apart.
Yeah, it's really become the GPS system for my
Mm-hmm.
own personal program because I know where I want to go and I know where I've been, but sometimes to enter those coordinates, to find out what your DNA is, and then to make those adjustments, and those adjustments will be based on the detours that are laying in front of the obstacles that you have, maybe that are presented in life, or maybe some that are even presented in your own DNA, knowing what to do with them. And again, the key piece is having the right information being translated and having coaches like Carmen and Matt to be available in gyms coming in the future. I think that's going to be really
Mm-hmm.
the key piece in making sure that people take an empirical piece of data that's amazing, and then being able to do amazing things with it. This is the first time that there's actually been a tool that is based on science. It's based on you. The it's based on a medical analysis of who you are. And trainers haven't had that opportunity to this point. And no matter how much education, years and years of education to understand how the human body moves, but understanding that the human body is moving or supposed to move this way, now we can understand why it may not be moving that way. Maybe it's not being fed properly. Getting enough calories is important, but getting enough of the right macronutrients and ensuring that we're not taking in any particular food group that might be irritating to a DNA's proper function, as well as supplementation if our bodies don't absorb vitamins or methylate vitamins, or even if our body has a potential um, inability to find those vitamins in our food sources. The DNA will show us, and along with good coaches as trainers, what to recommend for a client and what is going to work and make that difference.
Too, is um, it really helps with clients in terms of bringing them to their best selves, and their best selves even in the process of changing their physique, whether it's gaining weight or losing weight. When you're dieting according to your DNA, you're dieting in a way, I'm hesitant to use the word diet too because there's
Mm.
a negative connotation, but when you're eating to make changes for your body in a way that's in accordance with your body, it's not painful. That's a big thing. It's not painful. It's not super limiting. Like there might be some tweaks here and there, but the thing is it shouldn't be so hard. And when you're following your DNA, it's not as hard.
When
It's meant to create the best self.
when you're doing the right thing, your body accepts it
Hmm.
very, very well. And instead of the trial and error that we've experienced individually and as trainers, no more trial and error. Let's get the right answers for the right people.